Hello everyone, I'm John Fisher of All About the Jersey, and welcome to Eastside Hockey Manager. So you, the readers, gave me your voice. You gave me your choice for how we want to redo the 2015-2016 season. And yes, I do recognize how to read dates now. It is indeed the 2015-16 season that we are redoing. We're redoing last year just to see what could we do differently if we were in charge, and we're using Eastside Hockey Manager to do that. So, out of 303 of you, 164 of you said, we're going to go for it, as opposed to 139 of you that's wanted me to tank and throw the season away. So, we're going to go for the playoffs. So, welcome for this redo series, this let's play, this let's pretend, this whatever you want to call it, we're going to try to make the playoffs. I have to emphasize the key phrase is try. Remember, I'm going to be relying on you to give me suggestions on how to make the team better and playoff ready, meaning we got to go for it. We have to put our Lou Lamoriello hats on and ask ourselves, what can we do to make this team better today, right now? Let's go. None of this long-term rebuilding, play the kids, see what happens, throw a bunch of garbage in the depths of the lineup and see what happens. Nope, we got to make the playoffs. So, with that in mind, I received those poll results earlier in the week. And I started the game. So let's take a quick look around first. First and foremost, who am I? Well, thanks to Norton Nemesis on the site, she, or he, I think it's a she, I digress, suggested that we name ourselves Kevin Lomax from Devil's Advocate. That's Keanu Reeves' character, so I've done exactly that, hence the K Lomax up here. So this is the front office screen. When you load the game up, this is what you get to see. You have some information right in front of you. News, team finances, the upcoming schedule, leaders on the team, league standings. You can customize a little bit of this, and you have all these different options up here. The big one is, of course, news. We get emails of everything that's going on. So the way these videos are going to work is I'm basically going to sim a season at a time about once a week, and I'm going to try to include your suggestions for player movements and so forth and make deals as they happen. I'm going to try my best to stay as far away from coaching decisions as much as possible. However, there are times, injuries happen in the game. Other opportunities came up where I just have to make a decision myself. That would make sense. I will say that during preseason, none of those decisions really came up. I believe it was Al Slammers, AL Slammers, AI Slammers, I don't know. That user noted out that the AI isn't very good at handling the cap necessarily. They see that their team is about to hit the cap or hit their team budget and decide we're just going to throw players into waivers and move them down to the minor leagues just to make space. Or they'll just let guys go away in free agency. They won't qualify free agents and so forth. Whereas in real life, other more creative moves would be made to keep certain players. So I guess you could say that's a flaw of the game, but at the same time, that's the flaw of pretty much every sports simulator in existence. You can't really emulate the human factor in all of this. But Al Slammers, I'm just going to call him Al Slammers, or her Al Slammers. They're right, and so far during this preseason, there's been a lot of waiver movement. Johan Franzen was sent down. Jonathan Eriksson was sent down. Just as an example, the Blues put Steve Ott, who they've been trying to trade away, Martin Havlat, Ryan Reeves, and a whole bunch of other players on the waiver wires. In the game, you get notices on players that are, quote-unquote, on the trading block, and I'll delve into that in a little bit. You get updates from your scouts, which I'm assigning separately. I put Claude Carrier to entry draft level. We can see what he's looked at so far. Very nice. We can view different stats and his recommendations. Apparently, for guys that are good to go right now, he's a big fan of Chychrun, big fan of Matthews, Puljujärvi. Julien Gauthier is highly rated in this game, as is Mac Jones, Mikhail Sergachev, Matt Tkachuk, and so on and so forth. So you see a couple of names that really stood out. He's a big fan of Dante Fabro. This will all come into play later in the year, but throughout the season, even in preseason, you'll want to get started on your scouting. So this way you can start building up your profile, so to speak. For this particular video, again, I ran preseason, so I completed September. Wasn't too much in the way of moves per se. So let me show you off what the Devils roster looks like just before the actual regular season will begin. Right. So as you see here at the bottom, which can be a little hard to read, so I apologize, it tells you how many players are on your roster and what's your maximum, as well as how many players are dressed. So what I can do for that is I can always ask the head coach, and this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to clear the roster before games and then ask the head coach AI to pick the roster and pick the lines together. If you're familiar with Football Manager, you could basically take control of all of this stuff yourself. And I'm going to show off how deep it can really go. But to start, I just want to highlight that I have 23 players. You'll notice Jordan Tutu has a little button on here that says IR. So he's on injured reserve. He suffered an injury. We can take a quick look at his player. He's got a hip flexor strain. He was out for 2 weeks. I put him on 24-day injured reserve. While we're here, I can show off some of the other parts of what you can see in a player. Up here, these numbers are his stats for who he is as a player. So the green numbers are typically considered good, yellow is kind of average, red is not so good. So we can see here that he's got a 15 in work rate. Now these numbers are all out of 20, so a 15 in work rate is actually pretty good. He's got a 16 in bravery, he's got a 13 in determination. So like most fighters, he's willing to, get up and go for it. At the same time, he's not particularly creative, he doesn't have a lot of flair. As far as his technical attributes, he's not good on face-off. He's not good at deflections. He'll throw checks. He'll do some dekes. Off the puck, he's not very good. He's got some decent stick handling, and he's got a good wrist shot. But you notice here, these aren't really exceptional numbers here. The physical stats aren't that good either, which makes sense considering he is 5'9" and less than 200 pounds. He's out for 2 weeks, so I've kept up Reed Boucher throughout preseason because Tutu's in place. Again, we can see positions. He can kind of be used on the left wing. He's better suited for right wing, though. And unconvincing means don't play this guy unless you absolutely have to at the position. The general description, he's a checking forward, which makes sense. Information gives you some personal details, so on and so forth. This part at the bottom is actually pretty important throughout the season because the players will have morale you have to worry about. So if players are unhappy with the team, they'll tell you that, and that may lead you to want to trade somebody, make a move. I'll keep an eye out for anybody who's really not all that happy that we may want to get rid of if we don't like that particular player. Contract, which is always important because it's a salary cap league. We have full details. He's got a $825,000 year contract. He's got it tells us what the buyout cap hit would be when the deal expires, whether or not he's unrestricted or not, and his team status, which is important because we could actually set his status as far as how important he is to the team. And that's another factor that, again, is a holdover from Football Manager. You want to be able to tell these guys, hey, you're important to us, you're a core part of the team. And some other players you may say, you know what, you're a fourth liner, you're a third pairing defenseman. You're on the team, we like you, but you're not that important. And it's important to state that up front, just like you would in real life. History. This gives us player history of where they've been. Look at all the beautiful history. It even goes back to his days in the Maritime Junior A Hockey League. That's how deep this game goes with the database. The EHM, the Blue Line crew, really goes deep. Game log. This is where NHL actual regular season or playoff games would appear. Also, if he played internationally, we would see that as well. But let's be real, Jordan Tutu is not representing Canada anytime soon. Preseason stats are not recorded, which is a bit sad, but don't worry, I'll be able to show that off a little bit. Scouting report, which is always important to have. You get some general impressions from your scouts, projections, his career role, and about on a 5-star rate value what his current rating be and what his future may be. He's 32, so he doesn't have much of a future. We can see a report card to see certain aspects that he's good at. He somehow gets an A- in defense and in poise. Obviously gets a C in size and strength since he's not that big. Hockey sense is a C-, but these are just general ideas to follow around here. And lastly, a brief biography of the player. And over here in actions, we can place him on waivers, we can give him a new deal, we can discipline him, release him, scout him, get a report from the coach or the trainer, and then compare him to other players as we need to. So that, in a nutshell, is how the players go. Now, again, he's on IR. So as a result, I have, let's see, where is he located? Reed Boucher. So Reed Boucher has been playing in preseason while Jordan Tutu has been out. Because Jordan Tutu could go on waivers if I send him down. Basically, I've kept Boucher up as basically a guy I'm going to move down here. You may recall, why would we move down Reed Boucher? And you may ask, where's Joe Blandisi and some of these other players from last season? The fact of the matter is, well, in this world, back at the beginning of the last season, in real life too, I believe. Well, actually, no, not in real life. Patrick Eliash, you'll notice, has been playing, and particularly well, as well as Yuri Loosely, he's available. So because these two guys are active, there's no room on the roster. Now, Bobby Farnham technically wasn't with the Devils at the beginning of last season either. That's, I think, a mistake by the blue line. But at the same time, I'm not going to cut Bobby Farnham just to make a point. Though, if you want me to, just let me know. And, if it's a good argument, I'll do it. Because, again, I'm relying on you guys to let me know what I should do with this team to make the playoffs. You'll also notice Stephane Matteau is with the team, and he's actually been playing. So, over here, this is the form section. So if you're a Football Manager fan, you'll recognize this immediately. For those of you who are not, let me briefly explain. In games, players get ratings, a general rating of their performance. Everybody starts as a 6. It's a 1 to 10 rating. I don't know why 5 is an average, but apparently 6 is. 6 means you had a decent game. You weren't good, you weren't great, you weren't bad. You just had a decent game. Anything less than a 6 is considered bad, with, of course, 5 being, it's not a good game, to 1 being like, the worst game of your life. Anything higher means you've had a good game. So 7 is a good game. 8 is a great game. 9 is an excellent game. 10 is a, wow, this guy was just amazing. First star, second star of the night, that sort of business. So you can briefly see their recent form of how they've been playing. So in the case of Reed Boucher, he's been pretty good. You'll notice Patrick Eliash, 10, 7, 8, 7, 8, means he's been excellent in preseason. Ditto for Lee Stempniak, who's also a Devil in this case. Corey Schneider has been good. Keith Kincaid, not so much. John Merrill got a game. Anyways, so this is what the roster looks like as it currently stands before we enter the NHL season. Here's the schedule. So this mimics the actual NHL schedule in real life, if I recall correctly. I do recall seeing Nashville and Arizona and Columbus on Tuesday nights of last October. By the way, those attendances weren't very good. I know, you're shocked. But we can jump back and you can see preseason, it doesn't match reality, but that's fine. The AI basically created the games for me, and so on and so forth. What I'm going to show off here is one of the results, and this is how deep this can go. So let's pick this last one against Colorado, where we played at home. So we can see the results here. So we have the score. So we click on the score here. We have the box score, so we can see who scored and who got the assists, and if it was a power play goal or not. We can view penalties as well, so we could see Landeskog, Mitchell, Kalinin got a hooking penalty, and so forth. We got basic stats at the bottom for shots on goal, shots blocked, power plays, penalty minutes, giveaways, takeaways, hits, so on and so forth. Passes completed is interesting. Somewhere Ryan Stimson is watching this going, yeah, finally, my work is, ahead of its time in a sense. But, it's a video game, so therefore it's easy to track stuff like that. The most interesting part is this area called analysis. So here you can get a shot chart that's accurate to where the players actually shot in the game. And this will actually show off what the games themselves look like. So here, all these red shots are shots that were taken, good, and the ones that are in green obviously were goals. So let's take a look at number 91, because Yuri Loosely is wearing number 91, and I haven't figured out how to change numbers. I'm not going to try to change them. I'm going to let the AI run with that. I'm not Lou Lamoriello. I don't care if they have high numbers or not. We can load the highlight associated with that shot or goal. So here, it's, as you see here, is a 4-1 game at the time of the third period. We got some options. We can slow it down or speed it up, and we can view other goals and other penalty calls that were in the games. That's the easy access. So this is under the highlights tab, so if you just want to jump to that, you can. So here's the play, and this is the game. These are the games as you see them. They are little dots. They have numbers, and you highlight the puck right here. Again, if you've seen Football Manager, it's like this, except it's not in 3D. I know the Football Manager games, you can view them in 3D, which is like stick figures running around. But, it's something to watch. So Lucy comes in, takes a shot, puts in his own rebound. That's a goal. Visitors go to the bench. Devils congratulate by their bench. Then we go back to the face-off. You see these little blips at the bottom here? That's actually the play-by-play as they happen. And you can review those, as they go if you want to view the stats right there. Ratings, as discussed. So, for example, Yuri Loosely, he had a goal. He got an 8. He had a good game. John Moore had an awesome game. He got a 10. He was the first star of the game. Severson also had an awesome game. He was a 10. And you can see the other team, Sergei Varlamov, he got a 4. That's not good. As far as home stats, you can see time on ice. You can scroll to the left and right to see the other stats as they are. So you can see power play time, penalty kill time, and other things like that. CON is Constitution, so it's basically how much energy they have. Yuri Lusti, not a lot of energy, but he was working hard. He played a hard 15-28 in the game. And you can see the goalie stats at the very end here. So Corey Schneider stopped 19-21, but he was still considered good. So that's the game, as in the game within the game, so to speak. And again, it was a pretty good preseason for the Devils. They won 4 out of 5. They only really got beaten pretty badly in one game. And in terms from an injury front, only Tutu suffered a significant injury. John Merrill missed a couple games due to a dental issue and Corey Schneider missed 2 days with a cut hand. No big deal. It's preseason. So the roster is what it is. Just with Reed Boucher, once Jordan Tutu comes back, I may have to move Boucher down, which is a bit unfortunate because I think he's done well in preseason. But again, if you want me to bring him up or make space for him, hey, let me know what move you want me to do. To go further into how deep this game can go, let's look briefly at the tactics. So I can ask the coach to fill in my roster, and he won't because we do not have any games coming up. So that's thank you, game. But we can look at different views for who's in form, who's got decent hands, and so forth. Actually, let me do this first. All right, so the game will tell you, hey, you can set the roster now, but ask me before the actual game to give me a much more updated assessment, which is the right thing to do. And now we have players on the side that we can actually assess. There we go. See, I'm learning things. And we can view these rosters. You can just click and click. So if you want Green with Severson, you can switch him back to make him on the first pairing. You can set up your power play units, your penalty kills, your 3-on-5s, your 5-on-3s, your even strength and overtime. And you can go real deep into the actual tactics themselves, like where they're positioned. What type of system do you want to run? Do you want to run a positional breakout, a board play, a crisscross, a free-flowing, a wings cross, so on and so forth? Do you want a 1-2-2? Do you want a 1-1-3? Do you want a 2-1-2? Do you want an 0-4? You have a lot of different options. And you notice you can change these dramatically between power play and penalty kill. So if you're one of those people that really likes to drill in deep and you think Football Manager isn't deep enough, well, the hockey game has exactly what you want. And it gets even better. You can view the units to see, whether or not players, lines fit well. For example, this unit lineup of your first line with your first pairing, it gives you 4 stars in offense, defense, speed, and skill. So that's pretty good. Not much in toughness, but who cares? You could set specific shift lengths if you really want to certain tactical settings. You can also assign personal tactics to certain people. So let's say, Travis Zajac. Oh, look, he has a pass bias. We can change that to shoot. Yes, we can tell Travis Zajac to finally shoot the puck more often. That's what this game can do for you. Aren't you excited? Well, maybe. Maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. It is a simulation. But it is what it is. You can tell him if you want him to fight. Or if you really want him to fight. You could tell him to carry the puck, join the rush as necessary. You could have him check opposing players specifically. So if you want him to shadow somebody specifically for a game, you can do that. So this is how deep the game goes. I'm going to cancel because I'm the GM. I'm Kevin Lomax. I don't coach. I GM. And I'm GMing with you, dear listener. Yeah. And the only other thing to really highlight is that we could set practice if we really want to as well. So if we want to tell Bobby Farnham, we want you to work on your offensive skill, bam. And offense, we can decide which coaches should do that. So in this case, we got Jeff Ward, we got Ali Nazardine, you got Chris Terreri, you got Jacques Caron as a specialist, and of course, John Hines. And here's a fun fact. All those stats, we have them for staffers as well. So Elaine Azardine, very good at judging potential. Coaching defenseman, he's okay. Physiotherapy, he's a 2, so don't make him your trainer. But you got specific tactics and discipline. So you can search for players, search for staffers, search for scouts. Assistant GMs, I went ahead and hired an assistant GM since our team didn't have one. And there you go. So this is how deep the game really goes. Again, I really want you all to focus more on player transactions rather than say, let's get rid of all the scouts. Because, I'm trying to think, where can I go? If we look at our personnel, the front office, there we go. We'll look at the front office another time. They all have their own contracts. You can't just say, throw out all the scouts. You can't just release everybody at once, and so on and so forth. One thing I do want to highlight, however, Trade Center. No trades have taken place. That's fine. How about availability? Wham! You get information on every single team and who they are looking to move around. Now, I'm just briefly going through this, so I'll scroll a little slower. But hey, Linden Vey is available if you'd like a Linden Vey on the team. You'll notice some of these players are just bad, like Luke Gazdic. Like, who would sign Luke Gazdic? Surely not Ray Shero. That would be terrible. But more seriously, you can go out, and if you see a player that's maybe of interest to strengthen the Devils a little bit, we can make that happen. I prefer to take your suggestion straight up rather than waiting on the AI to say somebody is available. I think that's the way to get a more advantageous trade. Whoops. And you can see team needs as well. We can actually set our own needs. So right now it says the New Jersey Devils don't have any specific needs. But if we go back to our front office, we go to our personnel. That's not it. That was what I was looking for earlier. So notice that all of our scouts are signed through contracts. We have our coaches through contracts. Our assistant GM has a contract. Our trainers have contracts. That's all stuff we have to manage as GMs as well. Where was it? The team report. Here we go. The team report. So this is a general scout, an AI-driven scouting to tell you where everybody stacks up on the depth chart. So Rick Alchick is our assistant GM. He put this together. Guys in green are essentially prospects or guys we have the rights to. So we still technically have Matthias Tendenby's rights if we want to bring him back. No, we're not bringing him back. I'm putting my foot down on that. But we do have the rights to J.D. Dudek, David Wahlberg, Arthur Gavras, Connor Chatham, so on and so forth. Pavel Zacha and Quenneville are in blue. They're prospects that we have contracts with. They're currently with their junior teams right now. I don't think we should move them. The game thinks Brent Seney is our second best prospect. That's curious. Anyways, but you can see where everybody really stacks up in the pecking order between the NHL and the AHL and the prospects. And you get some other neat categories on the side too, like, who's the most underrated, who's the best checker. Apparently it's Andy Green. I don't know why. So that's the team report. And here we can set team needs. And Jacques Caron is providing the head coaching notes for some inexplicable reason to say that, hey, we could use a top 2 defenseman. We can use a first-line center. We could use a depth defenseman. We can use a blue line prospect and so forth. But he does think we should try to improve our roster step by step. So what we could do is set a team trade philosophy to say, we want to rebuild through prospects. We want to favor young players. We want to rebuild through the draft. We want to make the playoffs. So we want to focus on winning now. Let's make a move. But we're not going to set any trade needs. But if we wanted to, we could say, look, we want a defenseman. We want a core defenseman, which is more likely than not a top 4 defenseman, if not a top pairing capable defenseman. If we wanted a stud defenseman, we want a key defenseman. We want a number 1, a number 2. We want to move Shea Weber for PK Subban because I'm Mark Bergevin, and I hit my head really hard that Wednesday. I don't know why. If we don't care, we can just say we want a defenseman. You AI, let us know what you want. I'm going to try to avoid using these team needs. I'll say that we want to focus on winning now, but I'm not going to set specific needs because I don't want to deal with AI offers all the time. I'd rather have you, the listener, the watcher, the reader of All About the Jersey, to let me know what you want me to do. I'd rather do that because I think, 1, that's more fun, and 2, that's going to be a lot more creative than what the AI is ever going to come up with. So let's do that. But I'm going to keep this here because, again, we got to make the playoffs. We got to win now. Preseason went well, but in real life, last year's team didn't do well. In a one simulation season that I already ran under Guy Incognito, Corey Schneider got hurt, and the season went to hell. Simply went to hell. So Kevin Lomax is here. He's the Devil's Advocate, or at least a guy who played a character in Devil's Advocate. No, he was the character in Devil's Advocate. The point is, I need your help. So, again, what we're going to do is I'm going to basically keep the comments open for a couple days after this video is posted, most likely on Friday. And I want you to give me your comments to tell me what moves I should make with this roster. If you want, let me show you the tactics. So I'm, again, ask the coach. So first line is Zajac Camilleri Stempniak. Second line is Elias Henrique Lusti. Ruutu Josephson Palmieri is a third line. Yeah, I know. Palmieri's on the third line. Deal with this. What AI coach John Hines wants. Mateo Kalina and Gianta is your fourth line. So your spares in this case are going to be... I want to confirm. Your spares are Reed Boucher, Bobby Farnham, and the injured Jordan Tutu up front. On defense, everybody but David Schlemko is playing. And your goalies are Keith Kincaid and Corey Schneider, of course. So what do you want me to do? who do you want me to trade? Who do you want me to go out and try to sign? If there's some, I don't think I can actually sign a free agent right away. I'm not sure about that. I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me I can. But again, tell me who I should make moves for, so this way we can get this Devils team to the playoffs in this simulated world. See if we can actually do it. One last bit before I go, just to highlight stuff in the news. So like I said, you get pretty much every bit of news that you can within the league. You get scouting updates, injuries, bans, draft information, upcoming jobs, and so forth. Let's see, categories, contracts, and media. No, competitions. Here we go. So the game actually tells us a little season preview, and we're ranked 20th. They think Corey Schneider is our MVP, which is true, and they think Kyle Palmieri is a key rival, which is also true. So the game's preview does not think we're a playoff team right away. Not right away, but we're not that far off. We're only a couple teams away. You'll notice the Capitals are somehow in 17th, and for some inexplicable reason, Colorado's in 15th. But again, it's an AI game, not real life, so let's use our real life knowledge to see if we can do better. Again, I'm John Fisher of All About the Jersey. Thank you for watching and or listening and or reading the site. And again, let me know what you want me to do with this team, and then I'll run through October, show you the results, and then we'll go from there.